Welcome to the 2014 Hendersonville Alderman Candidate Forum, presented by Sumner United for Responsible Government. I'm Eric Stamper, the Communications Director and past President of Sumner United for Responsible Government, so it's my honor to welcome you here tonight. Also, I forgot my printed notes, so I'll be reading off of my little computer here. I want to thank each of you in the audience for being here tonight to learn more about the candidates who want to represent us on our City Council. While many of your fellow citizens are home, you have given your time tonight to exercise the great American civic responsibility of watching and investigating your government and those who wish to be a part of it. I guarantee you're going to find this is worth your time. I also want to thank each of the candidates who are appearing tonight. They have made many sacrifices in order to run for office, and by participating in this forum, they've proven their willingness to open themselves up to the public for scrutiny and discuss tough issues that are important to the citizens of Hendersonville. Thank you, candidates. This is going to be an exciting event. There are many alderman candidates who have chosen not to attend, 3 of whom had committed to the event but later withdrew. The bad news about that is that the public will not be able to hear from those candidates, which is truly a shame. But the good news is, because the 4 candidates who are here don't have any opponents to debate, we have decided to change the format of this event into a hybrid of a forum and a roundtable, which should be a lot more dynamic and exciting to watch, and allow a deeper discussion about Hendersonville's biggest issues. Leading this roundtable forum will be one of Hendersonville's most vivacious and politically engaged personalities, Scottie Nell Hughes. I first met Scottie in 2008 when she joined the Sumner County Young Republicans, of which I was an officer at the time. I thought I had a lot of energy and passion, but nothing like Scottie Hughes, even back then. She told me in 2009 that she was done beating around the bush and being politically correct, and was just going to start telling people like it is. And for those of you who know Scottie, you know she was born to do just that. And a few years ago, she turned that attitude into her dream job. She became the news director of the Tea Party News Network and began traveling around the country interviewing some of the nation's best-known political figures. She's become a frequent guest commentator on national news programs, and most recently, she authored a book called Roar, The New Conservative Woman Speaks Out, which has become a bestseller on Amazon during its first week of release. It is my honor to welcome our moderator, Scottie Nell Hughes.
Vivacious. It's a great adjective. I like it. Thank you very much for being here. You know, Tip O'Neill once said that all politics is local. And we can sit here and we can debate what's going on in Washington, D.C. We can even talk about Nashville, Tennessee. But the truth is, if you want to see the effects of pushing that button on voting day, it's here in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and it starts with this board right here. So we have a lot to do. Here's the deal. We want to make sure as many people here in this room gets to know the thoughts, but also outside of this room. So we're going to keep this short. We're going to keep this quick because we want to make sure that this goes on public television. So you're going to see a very quick 59-minute roundtable, and the clock starts right now. So here's the format for tonight's roundtable forum. Each candidate will be given 90 seconds to make open statements. After that, I will be asking the candidates a variety of questions about the hot topics and issues facing Hendersonville right now. Finally, each candidate will be given up to 90 seconds to make closing statements. We will end at 7 p.m. If you go over that, I have full permission to hit you with a water balloon. Sumner United for Responsible Government has provided me with numerous questions from which I will choose. All candidates running for alderman in contested races were invited to participate in this forum. Please understand that. But because only one candidate from each ward is present, we will operate the forum more like a roundtable discussion. I will ask a question and choose a candidate to answer first, no pressure, alternating who will answer first each time. Following the first candidate's answer, we will proceed with the roundtable discussion with the expectation that we will hear each candidate answer the question during the discussion on that topic. We will now begin the forum with opening statements from each candidate starting with the candidate closest to me. It's what you get for being teacher's pet. Please refrain from applauding until after all of the candidates have made their opening statements. Mr. Matt Stamper, you are on the clock. 90 seconds, please.
Thank you, Scottie, and I want to thank Sumner United for Responsible Government for putting this on. It's a great organization. I was privileged to serve as treasurer of the organization in 2011 and 2012, and I'm very pleased with the work that you do. I want to thank HCA for allowing us to be here. The views that I hold will come out over the next few minutes, so I won't spend my opening remarks talking about them. I'll just tell you I currently serve as the alderman for Ward 6. I've served 4 years. I'm married, have 4 children, and I'm a CPA, by trade, and I really enjoy serving on the board and seeing Hendersonville at its best. Sometimes when you serve on the board, you see it at its worst. But overall, I'm very, very honored to be a member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and would like a second term. Is why I'm here running, and we've accomplished a lot in the first 4 years, and I look forward to 4 more. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Hi, my name is Kurt Riley. I want to thank Serge for having the debate. I want to thank Scottie for being so gracious and to be the moderator. I'd also like to thank the most important thing in my life, which is God. And I'd also like to thank somebody who continually puts up with everything that I do. We call it politicking at my house, and that's my wife, Tanya. She has put up with an incredible amount of time that I've spent door knocking and going to meetings and learning about government, and I want to thank her for that. I also want to thank a lot of people in Surge who've been mentors to me, who've been friends to me, and have helped me grow as a person. And also, I'd like to, bring to Hendersonville, I'm a family guy first and foremost. I've got no political experience, but I believe it's time for a change. I believe the citizens come first at every turn. I believe that this city has neglected our citizens to some degree, and as an alderman, I want to bring back the fact that the citizens deserve to be first. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arlene Cunningham, and currently I'm the alderman from Ward 3. I've had the honor of serving for my first term. I want to thank Serge and Eric and Ruth and everybody that came out tonight, because you took time out from your personal lives to just learn a little bit more about your city government and how it works. And Scottie, I want to thank you for hosting us tonight. The way I came about to run was I was asked by family and friends and neighbors to see if I wanted to take up the challenge to represent them in our city government 4 years ago. Never thought I would do it, but I did. Over the last 4 years, I've seen change happen, I've seen good things happen, and I've seen not so good things happen. What I like to do is I like to represent the people first, and I hope I've done that over the last 4 years. That's what I strive to do, doing the right thing and putting the people first at all times. And that's how I base my major decisions on, is what the people want, because that's who I represent. We have a representative government, and that's how I do my duties and responsibilities. Here you go. Thank you. I got the card.
Hi, I'm Barry Hardwick, and like these guys, I want to thank you for coming out tonight and Serge for doing this event. I also want to thank my family, because I have missed some birthdays and some soccer games as we've been out knocking on doors. So thank them for allowing me to do this and letting me spend a lot of my time with it. And as Matt said, when we're out knocking on doors, people always ask you, why are you running, who are you, and why should we vote for you? Well, instead of going through all of that right now, it's going to become clear over the next hour why we're running, why you should vote for us, and what we believe. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I've been married to Yvonne for 29 years. We have 4 boys, 2 of which graduated from Hendersonville High School. 2 of them currently own businesses here in Sumner County and Hendersonville. We've got some grandkids. We love the city. Hendersonville is an absolutely phenomenal, great city. And it's been good to me and my family. And what I want to do is to help take the same things, those same qualities, those same sense of community that we had when we moved here 12 years ago, and pass it on to our kids and our grandkids so they will have the great city that we've had. It's a great city. Love it.
Fabulous. Well, thank you very much. Now I'm going to take a little break here for 2 seconds. One big round of applause for everybody. I know here in the South we've been taught not to be rude, but I'm going to tell everybody I'm going to give you guys all a blanket. You're not rude tonight. If you have a phone with you and you have your Facebook, you have Twitter, you have email, whatever you have, your goal tonight is to take as many pictures as you can, tweet them out, Facebook them out. That is how we're going to win. That's how our candidates win. You'd be amazed. While I love our local media and they do a great job, the truth is, Facebook media, you right there, has just as much power as anybody that has a paper behind them. So please, take pictures. You are not rude in my room if you're out there and you're Facebook and you're tweeting. Lines that you like that these guys say, make sure that you tweet them out. Go follow the Surge Facebook page. Stay communicated. That's how we win, is by networking, and that's how social media helps us. So let's get this started. Let's start with question number 1, and I'm actually going to do, because there's this supposed war on women. Arlene, I'm declaring war on you and giving you question number 1. In 2012, Hendersonville accepted approximately $14,000 as part of a community development block grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. Next week, a new rule from HUD will go into effect that will likely force Hendersonville and the other 1,200 cities that accepted these funds to change zoning to accommodate more low-income housing, commonly known as HUD housing or Section 8. Do you think Hendersonville needs additional HUD housing, and what would you do about this situation if you're reelected?
Thank you, Scottie. This question came up probably around 6 months ago, earlier this year, and I did have questions about it with our planning department, because I don't want us to have to accept money with strings attached to it. It's enough that the federal government interferes with us as it is, and I don't think that we need to have any more interference from the federal government. I personally am not in favor of any more Section 8 housing in Hendersonville, but there is a difference between Section 8 housing and affordable housing, from what I learned from our planning director. There is a big difference. So I'm going to watch that carefully and closely, and that was definitely one of my concerns back, like I said, earlier this year when we did accept those funds. Thank you.
Okay, next thoughts. Who would like to take up that? Each one of you are going to have some answer on this, so.
I'll take that one.
Good job.
My thoughts on the CDBG is I echo kind of what Arlene said. If we have to decide as citizens if we're willing to give up sovereignty in order to accept money with strings attached from the federal government. If you want Washington to help govern Hendersonville, then you're gonna take that money, because it's going to come with strings almost every time that the government gets involved. So these are decisions the citizens are going to have to decide. And it's easy to say, here's some money for a new fire truck, but at the end of the day, what are the commitments behind that? We as citizens have to understand what those commitments are, and are we willing to accept them? Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I think the first thing is, when we accept money through the grants coming down from the federal government, we absolutely have to know what strings are attached. And if the strings are something we can't live with, we say no thank you. Unfortunately, the grant block money that comes down from the federal government is the sandbox that we play in, and we have to work within that sandbox. We also need to lobby our federal representatives and our senators to change the sandbox, because unfortunately, it's the world we live in. But if the strings attached are something we can't live with, we say no. And if they come in after the fact and try to change it, we just tell them to go take a hike. We're not going to do it.
Rezoning is a sensitive issue right now in Hendersonville, and I think if there was strings attached that involved the commitment that the city would have to rezone, I think that would be met with a lot of opposition. Two things we have to do is keep an eye on these dollars that are coming in. I think you mentioned 14,000, but I know we've gotten a couple 100,000 at one point for drainage, and we've been treating that like in an extra pot. And I think the problem becomes when you start counting on that as part of your regular income flow and budgeting with that money in mind. And then when there's strings attached, or in the case of the SAFER grants that we got for some firemen, when the federal government stops paying the bill, the city's either stuck with having to lay people off or find the money themselves. So we never want to get into a situation where we're counting on that money, depending on that money, because it does need to be evaluated. There's some healthy skepticism when you're receiving money from the federal government, and we all do our due diligence to make sure that the strings, like Barry said, are something we can live with. Thank you.
Fabulous. Okay, well, on this next question, I'm going to ask, since we do have 17 we got to get through, I'm going to ask the one person to answer it, and then if you have an additional point or disagree, then you talk. If not, we're just going to blanket in that you agree with that person. How about that? I am going to go on this question. I'm actually going to go back to you, I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Stamper, on this one because of the fact that you do have young children who are playing in the sports. Traffic in and around Drakes Creek Park, if you've noticed on Facebook lately, has grown so much that it now has a serious issue. Some have proposed building a new bridge and entrance into the backside of Drakes Creek Park through city-owned land along Drakes Creek Road. What is your opinion of this particular suggestion, and how would you prefer to see an additional bridge funded through user fees on the sports that use it, taxes, debt, or some other method?
Thank you, Scottie. I've heard from a lot of people with a lot of ideas. The user fees for those that are actually going to use it, I'm a fan of. Same reason I'm for toll roads. If you're going to use it, you pay for it. But Dave Lamar and the Public Works Department met this week for well over 2 hours. Part of the discussion was this issue. So there's a lot of things we're going to look at. Something does need to be done and will be done. That's a commitment that Dave has made, I think that the majority of the board has for safety reasons. The biggest concern I had was that during that incident a couple Saturdays ago, emergency vehicles would not have been able to get to an emergency in time, and that really bothers me. So some of the things we're looking at is an additional park over there by Knox Doss on some publicly owned land. A lot of people aren't in favor of that, but they weren't in favor of Veterans Park either, having to go from Drakes Creek over to Veterans. But sometimes you make the best of a bad situation. So I think developing that land's a possibility. There's some issues with a full-blown vehicle bridge as far as the elevation issues, but one solution that it's possible, and it may just be a Band-Aid, but it's a pretty good one if we get that whole boardwalk idea behind Cracker Barrel and all that, is for a pedestrian bridge to go in behind Union. Charles Lee is excited about teaming with the city, allowing for parking, and then people could walk over to the field. So we're looking at a lot of different options, and I can say that something will be implemented as soon as it can. But again, we don't want to use. We're not going to raise taxes or anything to get that accomplished.
Other comments?
Yeah, I have one comment just to add to what Matt said. Dave Lamar, our Parks Director, I was at the meeting also with Public Works, laid out a map and the new soccer fields, if they do ever become new soccer fields, of land that we already own. It would be a plan over the next several years, so it's not going to be an immediate solution to the problem. And the problem, from what I understand, exists about 10 weeks out of the year. So right now we're in the peak of it. Thank you.
Okay, let's go next one. I would actually like to go with, I think, Barry. I'm trying to figure out which one. None of you represent the district with the cash property in it, correct? That's what I figured. So I'm going to go with you, Barry. You get the fun question. Another controversy that has come up. Recently, the property where Johnny Cash's house used to be before it burned down was sold for approximately $2 million to a man who wants to build a mental rehabilitation clinic on the site. The property is currently in a residential area, so the owner has lobbied the board of mayor and aldermen to rezone the property so that he can build the clinic. A large and vocal group, imagine that, of nearby residents organized to oppose the plan, so the owner has now dropped his request. This type of rezoning of a single property has come to be known before as spot zoning. If you were elected with the rezoning of the Johnny Cash property comes before you, would you support or oppose it? What is your opinion of spot zoning in other circumstances?
We have a land and a use plan. It's a zoning plan that talks about where different types of development is going to be built in the city. We need to stick to that plan. If we're going to change it, it needs to be a community-wide discussion before we change it. Spot zoning is not a good thing.